Picture Georgian England. What comes to mind? Powdered wigs? Elegant balls? Jane Austen novels? Well, pull up a chair, because we're about to dive into the underbelly of that era. A time when London wasn't just lit by gas lamps, but by the fiery burn of gin. This was the gin craze, a period so wild it makes our modern-day happy hours look like a quiet cup of tea. It all started innocently enough. In the late 17th century, the government, in a bit of a tiff with France, decided to make it easier and cheaper to distill spirits from English grain. They basically rolled out the red carpet for gin production, and boy, did people respond. Gin wasn't the fancy, botanical-infused spirit we know today. This was rough, often dangerously impure stuff, nicknamed Mother's Ruin for a very good reason. It was cheap, potent, and available everywhere. Suddenly, London was drowning in it. By the 1730s, it's estimated that a quarter of all the houses in some London parishes were selling gin. You didn't need a license, just a room and a still. You could buy it from street vendors, barbers, grocers, and even from windows marked with a simple sign of a cat. You'd put your coin in the cat's mouth, and a shot of gin would pour out from its paw. It was the world's grimmest vending machine. So, who was drinking all this gin? Mostly the urban poor. Life in Georgian London for the working class was brutal. We're talking cramped, unsanitary living conditions, grueling work for pitiful wages, and a constant struggle against poverty and disease. Gin offered a cheap, fast, and powerful escape from that grim reality. For just a penny, you could get drunk. For 2 pence, you could get dead drunk, and the straw in the back room to pass out on was free. Gin shops advertised this openly. It was a liquid fantasy, a momentary relief from a life of hardship. The social impact was catastrophic. Artists of the time, like the famous William Hogarth, captured the chaos in his engravings, Beer Street and Gin Lane. Beer Street shows happy, healthy citizens enjoying a sensible pint. But Gin Lane is a nightmare. It depicts a city in total collapse. Buildings are crumbling, people are fighting, starving, and dying. A mother, so intoxicated she's covered in sores, lets her baby fall to its death. It was shocking, but it wasn't far from the truth. Public drunkenness became the norm. Crime rates soared as people did whatever it took to get their next fix. Families were torn apart. The death rate skyrocketed, outstripping the birth rate in London for a time. People were literally drinking themselves to death in the streets. They called it the demon drink, and for many, it was. It wasn't just a social problem, it was a full-blown public health crisis. The government, seeing the monster it had created, finally tried to intervene. They passed a series of gin acts, starting in 1729, to try and control the trade. Their first attempts were a complete disaster. They slapped a huge tax on gin and required expensive licenses to sell it. What happened? People just went underground. The illegal gin trade exploded. Informants who tried to report illegal gin sellers were often attacked, sometimes even killed, by angry mobs. Riots, known as the Gin Riots, broke out in the streets. It was a classic case of a government trying to fix a problem without understanding its root cause. You couldn't just tax away the desperation that was fueling the craze. It took several more attempts and a more nuanced approach. The Gin Act of 1751 was the one that finally started to work. It was more sensible. It banned gin sales by small, unlicensed dealers, gave local magistrates more power, and made it harder for distillers to sell directly to the public. But the law wasn't the only thing that ended the gin craze. Other factors played a huge role. A series of bad harvests drove up the price of grain, which in turn made gin more expensive. At the same time, a new, popular drink was on the rise: tea. Tea was becoming more affordable, and the ritual of making and drinking it was seen as respectable and civilizing. It offered a different kind of comfort, one that didn't lead to ruin. The economy also improved, offering people better prospects than the bottom of a gin bottle. So, the great gin craze eventually faded, not with a bang, but with a gradual sobering up. It serves as a stark reminder of the dark side of the Georgian era, a period often romanticized but which, for many, was a desperate struggle for survival. It shows how social and economic pressures can lead to devastating consequences, and how a cheap escape can end up costing a society everything. The story of Mother's Ruin is a potent chapter in history, a cautionary tale written in the gritty streets of 18th-century London. It's a far cry from the elegant world of ball gowns and minuets, but it's just as much a part of the Georgian story. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this dive into history interesting, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories from the past. Let me know in the comments what historical topic you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.